C.H. Spurgeon preached this message on March 8, 1857, at the Music Hall of the Royal Surrey Gardens. It is entitled, A Faithful Friend. The text is found in Proverbs chapter 18 and verse 24. There is a friend that sticketh closer than a brother. Cicero has well said, friendship is the only thing in the world concerning the usefulness of which all mankind are agreed. Friendship seems as necessary an element of a comfortable existence in this world as fire or water, or even air itself. A man may drag along a miserable existence in proud solitary dignity, but his life is scarce life. It is nothing but an existence, the tree being stripped of the leaves of hope and the fruits of joy. He who would be happy here must have friends, and he who would be happy hereafter must, above all things, find a friend in the world to come, in the person of God, the Father of his people. Friendship, however, though very pleasing and exceedingly blessed, has been the cause of the greatest misery to men when it has been unworthy and unfaithful. For just in proportion as a good friend is sweet, a false friend is full of bitterness. A faithless friend is sharper than an adder's tooth. It is sweet to repose in someone, but oh, how bitter to have that support snapped, and to receive a grievous fall as the effect of your confidence. Fidelity is an absolute necessity in a true friend. We cannot rejoice in men unless they will stand faithful to us. Solomon declares that there is a friend that sticketh closer than a brother. That friend, I suppose, he never found in the pomps and vanities of the world. He had tried them all, but he found them empty. He had passed through all their joys, but he found them vanity of vanities. Poor Savage spoke from sad experience when he said, You'll find the friendship of the world a show, mere outward show. 'Tis like the harlot's tears, the statesman's promise, or false patriot's zeal, full of fair seeming, but delusion all. And so, for the most part, they are. The world's friendship is ever brittle. Trust to it, and you have trusted a robber. Rely upon it, and you have leaned upon a thorn, aye, worse than that, upon a spear which shall pierce you to the soul with agony. Yet Solomon says he had found a friend that sticketh closer than a brother, not in the haunts of his unbridled pleasures, nor in the wanderings of his unlimited researches, but in the pavilion of the Most High, the secret dwelling place of God, in the person of Jesus, the Son of God, the friend of sinners. It is saying a great thing to affirm that there is a friend that sticketh closer than a brother, for the love of brotherhood has produced most valiant deeds. We have read stories of what brotherhood could do, which we think could hardly be excelled in all the annals of friendship. Timoleon, with his shield, stood over the body of his slain brother to defend him from the insults of the foe. It was reckoned a brave deed of brotherhood that he should dare the spears of an army in defense of his brother's corpse. And many such instances have there been in ancient and modern warfare of the attachment of brethren. There is a story told of two brothers in a Highland regiment who, whilst marching through the Highlands, lost their way. They were overtaken by one of the terrible storms which will sometimes come upon travelers unawares, and blinded by the snow they lost their way upon the mountains. Well nigh frozen to death, it was with difficulty that they could continue their march. One man after another dropped into the snow and disappeared. There were two brothers, however, of the name of Forsyth. One of them fell prostrate on the earth, and would have lain there to die, but his brother, though barely able to drag his own limbs across the white desert, took him on his back and carried him along, and as others fell one by one, this brave, true-hearted brother carried his loved one on his back, until at last he himself fell down, overcome with fatigue, and died. His brother, however, had received such warmth from his body that he was enabled to reach the end of his journey in safety, and so lived. Here we have an instance of one brother sacrificing his life for another. I hope there are some brothers here who would be prepared to do the same thing if they should ever be brought into the same difficulty. It is saying a great thing to declare that there is a friend that sticketh closer than a brother. It is putting that friend first of all in the list of loving ones, for surely, next to a mother's love, there is, and there ought to be, no higher affection in the world than the love of a brother to one begotten of the same father and dandled on the same knee. Those who have grown in beauty side by side and filled one house with glee ought to love one another. And we think there have been many glorious instances and mighty proofs of the love of brethren. Yet, says Solomon, there is a friend that sticketh closer than a brother. To repeat our assertion, we believe that this friend is the blessed Redeemer, Jesus Christ. It shall be ours first to prove this morning the fact that he sticks closer than a brother, and then, as briefly as we can, to show you why he sticks closer than a brother, and then to finish up by giving you some lessons which may be drawn from the doctrine that Jesus Christ is a faithful friend. First then, beloved, we assert that Christ is a friend that sticketh closer than a brother, and in order to prove this from facts, we appeal to such of you as have had him for a friend. Will you not each of you at once give your verdict that this is neither more nor less than an unexaggerated truth? He loved you before all worlds, long ere the day-star flung his ray across the darkness, before the wing of angels had flapped the unnavigated ether, before aught of creation had struggled from the womb of nothingness. God, even our God, had set his heart upon all his children. Since that time, has he once swerved? Has he once turned aside, once changed? No. Ye who have tasted of his love and know his grace will bear me witness that he has been a certain friend in uncertain circumstances. He near your side hath always stood. His loving kindness, oh, how good! You fell in Adam. Did he cease to love you? No. He became the second Adam to redeem you. You sinned in practice, and brought upon your head the condemnation of God. You deserved his wrath and his utter anger. Did he then forsake you? No. He saw you ruined in the fall, yet loved you, notwithstanding all. He sent his minister after you. You despised him. He preached the gospel in your ears. You laughed at him. You broke God's Sabbath. You despised his word. Did he then forsake you? No. Determined to save, he watched o'er your path. Whilst Satan's blind slave, you sported with death. And at last he arrested you by his grace. He humbled you. He made you penitent. He brought you to his feet, and he forgave all your sins. Since then, has he left you? You have often left him. Has he ever left you? You have had many trials and troubles. Has he ever deserted you? Has he ever turned away his heart and shut up his bowels of compassion? No, children of God, it is your solemn duty to say no and bear witness to his faithfulness. You have been in severe afflictions and in dangerous circumstances. Did your friend desert you then? Others have been faithless to you. He that eateth bread with you has lifted up his heel against you. But has Christ ever forsaken you? Has there ever been a moment when you could go to him and say, Master, thou hast betrayed me? Could you once in the blackest hour of your grief dare to impugn his fidelity? Could you dare to say of him, Lord, thou hast promised what thou didst not perform? Will you not bear witness now? Not one good thing hath failed of all that the Lord God hath promised. All hath come to pass. And do you fear he will yet forsake you? Ask then the bright ones before the throne. Ye glorified spirits, did Christ forsake you? Ye have passed through Jordan's stream. Did he leave you there? You have been baptized in the black flood of death. Did he there forsake you? You have stood before the throne of God. Did he then deny you? And they answer, No. Through all the troubles of our life, in all the bitterness of death, in all the agonies of our expiring moments, and in all the terrors of God's judgment, he hath been with us, a friend that sticketh closer than a brother. Out of all the millions of God's redeemed, there is not one he hath forsaken. Poor they have been, mean and distressed, but he hath never abhorred their prayer, never turned aside from doing them good. He hath been ever with them. For his mercy shall endure, ever faithful, ever sure. But I shall not longer stay, since I cannot prove this to the ungodly, and to the godly it is already proven, for they know it by experience. Therefore it is but little necessary that I should do more than just certify the fact that Christ is a faithful friend, a friend in every hour of need and every time of distress. And now I have to tell you the reasons why it is we may depend upon Christ as being a faithful friend. There are some things in himself which render it certain that he will stick close to his people. True friendship can only be made between true men, whose hearts are the soul of honor. There can be no lasting friendship between bad men. Bad men may pretend to love each other, but their friendship is a rope of sand which shall be broken at any convenient season. But if a man have a sincere heart within him, and be true and noble, then we may confide in him. Spenser sings in fine old English verse, "Nay, certes can that friendship long endure, however gay and goodly be the style, that doth ill cause or evil end inure. For virtue is the band that bindeth hearts most sure." But who can find a stain in the character of Jesus, or who can tarnish his honor? Has there ever been a spot on his escutcheon? Has his flag ever been trampled in the dust? Does he not stand the true witness in heaven, the faithful and just? Is it not declared of him that he is God who cannot lie? Have we not found him so up to this moment? And may we not, knowing that he is holy, holy, holy Lord, confide in him that he will stick closer to us than a brother? His goodness is the guarantee of his fidelity. He cannot fail us. Faithfulness to us in our faults is a certain sign of fidelity in a friend. You may depend upon that man who will tell you of your faults in a kind and considerate manner. Fawning hypocrites, insidious flatterers, are the sweepings and offal of friendship. They are but the parasites upon that noble tree. But true friends put enough trust in you to tell you openly of your faults. Give me for a friend the man who will speak honestly of me before my face, who will not tell first one neighbor and then another, but who will come straight to my house and say, "Sir, I feel there is such and such a thing in you, which, as my brother, I must tell you of." That man is a true friend. He has proved himself to be so. For we never get any praise for telling people of their faults. We rather hazard their dislike. A man will sometimes thank you for it, but he does not often like you any the better. Praise is a thing we all love. I met a man the other day who said that he was impervious to flattery. I was walking with him at the time, and turning round rather sharply, I said, "At any rate, sir, you seem to have a high gift in flattering yourself, for you are really doing so in saying you are impervious to flattery." "You cannot flatter me," he said. I replied, "I can, if I like to try, and perhaps may do so before the day is out." I found I could not flatter him directly, so I began by saying what a fine child that was of his, and he drank it in as a precious draught. And when I praised this thing and that belonging to him, I could see that he was very easily flattered, though not directly, but indirectly. We are all pervious to flattery. We like the soothing cordial, only it must not be labeled flattery, for we have a religious abhorrence of flattery if it be so called. Call it by any other name, and we drink it in, even as the ox drinketh in water. Now, child of God, has Christ ever flattered you? Has he not told you of your faults right truly? Has he not pricked your conscience even upon what you thought to gloss over, your little secret sins? Has he not provoked conscience to thunder in your ears notes of terror because of your misdeeds? Well then, you may trust him, for he shows that faithfulness which renders a man right trustworthy. Thus I have pointed out to you that there are reasons in himself for which we may trust him.